Ready, start, Mr. Deputy Speaker. This is a measure which we think is being rushed through the House in an atmosphere of mystery. Even the honorable member who has been associated with the Public Accounts Committee for such a long time and who is now the present chairman of the PAC has put forward his views very eloquently to tell us how this is a matter of great complexity and is sought to be rushed through without proper details being made available to the members of parliament. Why this attitude is being taken by the government suddenly after so many years. Government feels one night that they must have audit separated from accounts and promulgate an ordinance. Thus, legislation by ordinance has become almost the order of the day. This discloses an attitude of taking the parliament for granted in every vital matters. Of course, this is an important bill which need not be opposed from political point of view and is an important piece of legislation, but this is sought to be placed before the House. They think they can pass any legislation like so long as the present composition continues and they need not take parliament into confidence. This is our basic charge. We are being asked to give out thoughts to a piece of legislation which requires very thorough study. The minister may be happy with the bureaucratic advice he receives. They do not realize what its full implications are. They are quite satisfied with the bureaucratic advice they get. We want to know the real objective, separating audit from accounts or accounts from audit, and come out with an ordinance and come up to the House with something which has been accomplished as it were, and then say, you please give your formal assent to it, and so on. Sir, we object to it on principle. Rushing through measures such as these is not a correcting thing to do. There have been sustained attempts going on to bring down all edifices in the national life of our country, even in the governmental functioning of the country. We are objecting to this on principle. This is a matter which should have been conceived on proper considerations. Parliament should have been taken into confidence in much greater detail about its full implications, being the highest body as such. Of course, this is a technical matter and I do not feel much competent to speak on the implications of it or how it will ultimately affect us, because what we find is even much more competent people of the category of CAG, etc., have not been able to be unanimous on this point. There have been so many views offered. There was reference made to the recommendations of the PSC. So many riders were there. The estimate committee had given certain recommendations. There are the recommendations of the ARC. The recommendations are subject to so many riders, so many conditions. All these things should have gone into in depth, and if they had not made up their minds so far, what suddenly happened just now? Why should they pass an ordinance on the 29th of February? Why cannot they wait for 7 days for the House to reassemble? They just come to this house with this attitude which cannot be appreciated. In the statement of objects and reasons, they have stated the circumstances necessitating legislation by ordinance. It appears they have made up their mind to do it with effect from 1st April to complete the exercise before that date. Without taking the view of the legislature, the executive has come to a decision, and they have stated as it were implementing the decision. To start with, they want to do it in connection with three ministries. The present accounting system applicable to most ministries and departments is essentially external to the financial management functions, where the payments are made by the treasuries and accounts are compiled by the audit and accounts offices under the control of the Comptroller and Auditor General on the basis of initial and subsidiary accounts received by them from the treasuries. This system worked fairly well when governmental business was limited. With the increase in the volume and variety of governmental outlays, the system has proved inadequate to the administration's stakes, and separation of accounts from audit had to be thought of. There are doubts in our minds which have been very valid, if I may say so, expressed by my friend who has studied the matter in greater details. Therefore, we submit that this is not a matter which should be hurried through. As the Honorable Speaker on the other side said just now, we are still in the dark and we are trying to make a study of the matter. He says maybe the management control will be good, but we must know about the task forces whose reports are not available. Stop.